Hey everyone, we're continuing to read through the New Testament together, and today we are in Mark chapter 8, and as we read together, the simple thought is called, I can see clearly now. You know, a lot of money is spent every year by people who want to see more clearly. In fact, it tells us that people spend roughly somewhere over $23 billion in corrective lenses, contacts, LASIK surgery, and other things that help them see clearly to have sight and to improve it. We need to understand that in Mark chapter 8, there is a man who is blind, and as a result, he's dependent upon everyone else to help meet the needs of his life. And part of this need is ultimately healing. And so his friends are going to bring him to Jesus and plead with Jesus and grace for his grace and mercy to heal this man. And the story is going to unfold as Jesus first begins to heal him. And the man goes from blindness to having blurred vision. And then he removes him from those that brought him to complete the healing process. And we know that he restores his sight completely. Now, I want to take just a moment for us to think when we read this passage and we see that truth, we see the story unfold about the spiritual blindness, spiritual blurriness, and spiritual sight. You see, everybody is born with spiritual blindness. Sin blinds us from living the way that God calls us to live. Sin keeps us from fully engaging the Father. In fact, the Bible tells us that the evil one wants to keep us blinded from that relationship with Jesus and our need of that. And often spiritual blindness has a way of us attempting to justify and make our things that we know to be wrong more holy. They try to justify the self so that we feel better about who we are and what we have participated in. But spiritual blindness is an absolute need of healing. The problem is, in spiritual blindness, we looked at everywhere we can imagine to find belonging, to find help, to find people that can help meet the needs in our lives. And then we move to blurriness, which means we are beginning to learn about Jesus, but still dependent on things other than Jesus. That means we may have the ability to speak in the right way or say the right stories or know the right truths, but somehow we are still blurry on the importance and impact in our lives. And so as a result, we find ourselves striving to find others to help us along the way instead of trusting in Jesus. And then there's spiritual sight. When the man was fully healed, it was all based on Jesus. You see, when you and I respond to Jesus as Lord and Savior of our life by faith alone, because of God's grace and mercy alone, then our spiritual blindness and blurriness is taken away and our Redeemer heals us and we gain sight that is clear as can be. So we need to recognize, and we have to ask ourselves the question, are we in a state of spiritual blindness? Are we in a state of spiritual blurriness? Or have we received the healing of Jesus through a relationship with Him in faith alone? And as a result, we can now declare, I can see clearly now. We'll see you tomorrow for Mark chapter 9.